sit down, could we just take a moment? We lost Pope Francis this week, and he meant so much to so many people. And I think it would be right for us to just take a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you all very much. Roll call.
Al?
Present.
Terry? Present. Michelle? Here. Kate? Here. Gladys?
Here.
Lauren? Here. Juanita? Here. Rich?
Here.
Julie? And
So move on down the agenda, public participation, huh?
The board welcomes public participation and asks that speakers please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System.
Thank you, Lauren. Would anyone like to sign up to speak tonight that didn't sign up on this sign-up sheet? No. We move on down the agenda. Lauren, could you do the consent calendar, please?
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve consent calendar exhibits 25-64 and 25-65 in accordance with the
I second the motion.
Motion moved by Lauren, seconded by Al. Are there any questions concerning the consent calendar? Yes, Lauren.
I just have a correction. For 25-64, the curriculum committee, it's listed via Zoom. That was an in-person meeting, so we can just get that changed and corrected for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other corrections? All in favor of the motion, can I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Our educational staff. Our students from DHS.
Hi everyone, I'm Hayden Rogers, Vice President of BOG.
And I'm Paulina Visconti, Secretary of BOG.
So first off, we wanted to thank you guys for setting our graduation date for June 11th at 5 p.m. You're all welcome to attend. We hope to see you there. We will also have our cap and gown distribution on June 6th. We have the senior trip coming up on June 4th to Six Flags, which should be very fun. And we have graduation rehearsal on June 6th, 9th, and 10th.
And then we also have some exciting peer leadership community change projects coming up. And peer leadership is a senior course that you must be accepted into, and you help guide students around the school and help bring us more together as a community. And so some of the events we have coming up is Culture Day, which is May 29th at 2:45 p.m. There's a cornhole tournament, May 17th at 1 p.m. There's a field day where they're going to be playing Capture the Flag and other fun games like tag and stuff. And that's at May 10th at 2 p.m. There's a color run on May 31st at 2 p.m. There's a 3v3 basketball tournament at May 21st at 3 p.m. A talent show April 30th at 6 p.m. The Powder Puff Girls Juniors vs. Seniors football game, and that's June 5th at 6 p.m. The fashion show is Wednesday, May 17th at 6 p.m. And there's actually a car wash tomorrow, fundraiser for UNICEF, in front of DHS at 3 p.m. And you're welcome to attend any of those events. And we can email you guys the dates so that it's easier for you all.
We also have junior prom coming up very soon on May 2nd, followed by senior prom on May 23rd. We're also trying to plan a senior pep rally and senior spirit week for the end of the year during prom week for the seniors. We're planning to do Monday, Barbecue Dads versus Soccer Moms, Tuesday, Tacky Tourist Tuesday, Flower Power Day on Wednesday, and USA Day on Thursday. We also have AP exams starting the 5th of May through the 16th, and makeups will be later in May around the 19th.
And then we just completed a lot of testing at DHS. We completed the NGSS test, the SATs, and the LAS Links test for multi-language learners. And the Sealed by Literacy test was today, and it went very successful. And College Acceptance Day is May 1st coming up, so all the seniors will be wearing their college t-shirts. And then there's the DHS Commits Instagram, which showcases all the seniors and where they're going to school. And we can also send you that information so that you guys can check out that account.
So we also have our last day of school for all students on June 12th and for seniors on June 2nd. We just had our musical Hairspray. There were over 700 elementary students that attended, so that went very well. Danbury Class Act also just went to multiple elementary schools and read and played Sports with Children, which was awesome. And then today we had the Scuba Tech come to our school, and they set up a pool outside for submersible drones for the engineering students. We also had Sean Osby, a celebrity chef who works with public and professional service academies. He came actually today, I think it was, to visit as well, so that was pretty cool.
And then we also had many bankers come in for the finance academies recently. And then coming up soon, there's an FBI agent, and he's coming in for cybersecurity and law for the service for the academies. And then HBSA is taking their tests soon to become certified nursing assistants. And O'Grady's has been rescheduled to Friday night because of impending weather on Saturday. So you're all welcome to attend O'Grady's. And the CODA Festival, which is a festival for arts showcasing elementary and middle school arts of all types, is coming up soon. And then there's the junior NHS induction coming up May 21st.
That's all we have for you.
Yeah.
Does the board members have any questions?
How much is the car wash?
The car wash is $5, I believe.
Now, do you do inside or just outside?
It's just exterior.
$50 for you.
Are there any other questions?
Did you give a date to the CODA festival?
No, I don't have that.
CODA Festival, I believe, is in May. It's
Yeah.
a Saturday in May. I'm not sure which one.
We can send you guys the information once we get it.
No other questions? Just thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
us.
Now I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent.
This time, I'd like to call up Dr. Rick Rayusi. Rick just completed and was awarded his doctorate title very recently. Well-deserved coursework and successful completion of some excellent work. So
Thank you.
excited to have you. Rick is here tonight because we try to annually update the board on all things that are happening with adult education. Under Rick's leadership, we are growing the program immensely and providing a lot more opportunities that are very specific to the needs of our community. And he's here tonight to go over what those are. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, everybody. As Dr. Casimiro said, my name is Rick Rayusi. I'm the Regional Director for Adult and Continuing Education. I know that I was supposed to be meeting with you guys back in March, which is why it says March 26th on the slide deck. We had to adjust that to today. I was lucky enough to talk with you guys about a year ago about some of the new initiatives that we had started when I first came on board. We've had a very busy year. We've grown considerably, both with regard to staff and with students, and with regard to a lot of the initiatives that we've taken on this year. So I'm excited to share those with you tonight. So for the folks that were here last year, I'm not going to go through this in great depth because we did that last year, but due to state legislation, we are required to offer certain adult education programming. Every municipality is required to offer that to its residents. That includes some sort of high school completion programming. In the state of Connecticut, that could include credit diploma program, which is very similar to a traditional high school diploma, 25 credits that students have to complete. It's a teaching and learning program. General Educational Development, which is more commonly known as the GED. That is a preparation program to take 4 different tests, one in each of the 4 core subjects: English, Science, Social Studies, and Math. And then the last one is NEDP, National External Diploma Program. This is an assessment program. So this is a program that if we have someone that comes to us with a lot of life experience and has a lot of academic knowledge, they are basically showing that they have the competencies needed for a high school diploma, proving that to an assessor, and then they're awarded a high school diploma, and that's through a number of different modules. 3 years ago, we only offered CDP and GED. Over the last 2 years, we've been able to, just getting over a cold, so bear with me. We've been able to offer all 3, which has been great because it offers another pathway to high school completion for all of our adult learners in the community. The second piece that we're required to offer from state legislation is our largest program here in Danbury, ESL, English as a Second Language. And then the third that we are required to offer is citizenship preparation. So those are the 3 requirements under state legislation. The last 2 things on there, the family literacy programming and the Jobs First employment services, come as a result of 2 initiatives that we've undertaken over the last 2 years. So we were awarded a pretty generous federal grant. 3 years ago, we were awarded about $100,000 in that grant. This year, because it's the first year of the grant, it's a 4-year cycle, and due to some of the outcomes, the increased outcomes that we've had over the last 2 years, we were able to increase that award to $185,000. So a very significant increase as a result of the work that our division is doing with the community. The second piece to that, the Jobs First Employment Services, is a result of a partnership with the Regional Workforce Board. So they actually contract out to WeRace to provide employment services to their adult clients that are looking for employment. And that comes in a myriad of different forms, right? If we have somebody that comes in that hasn't completed their high school diploma, they might go through one of those programs. If they come in and they don't speak proficient English to land a job, we work with them on those skills to upskill them. It's very individualized for each client that comes into our door that's referred to us by the Regional Workforce Board. That contract that we have on file brings us in an additional $70,000 for our programming that helps offset the contribution for you guys as a board. So we've done a lot of work in terms of bringing external funding in. Over the last 3 years, I think, so long as the ask goes forward for WeRace, in total, over the course of 3 years, we've seen an increase of 1.25% for our budget. And I think what you'll see in the following slides, it's pretty impressive for the number of people that we're serving despite that very, very small increase. So I talked a little bit about each of these 3 programs that we offer. This just gets into a little bit more detail of each of those 3. Same thing with ESL and citizenship preparation. Let's talk about our new initiatives. So last summer, similar to K-12, Take 2, yeah? Okay. Similar to K-12, adult education providers are struggling to find ESL teachers, right? Certified ESL teachers. What we did, we actually kind of led the way and were the first in the state to have a partnership with CT State Community College. We ran a cohort that trained and certified teachers at no cost to them. They signed a contract with us. We partnered with the HR department. We were able to hire an additional 17 teachers as a result of that program, which is allowing us to service roughly 600 additional ESL learners in the community. And that's helping us kind of feed into the next initiative. So 3 years ago, we were offering ESL at 2 locations, the Danbury Library and Danbury High School. This year, we offer 13 different locations. 6 of them are at the elementary schools. And what we've really done a lot of work in over the last 2 years is how that programming ties into supporting the elementary schools. So a lot of the ESL instructors that we have that do that family literacy programming are teachers during the day in the elementary school, and then they come back and they teach at night. So they're not only having, at times, some of the kids that are in the K-5, but also the parents of those K-5 students, right? We've talking to a number of different adult learners that have said, like, I've left a note on my kid's desk the next day saying that he better behave, or like that he has to do really well in the spelling. So that's been very, very encouraging for us. In addition to that, we've been able to start offering GED Spanish programming. We have a wait list for that. This is the first year that we're offering it. We have 30 students enrolled in that program. It's a hybrid program, so in the state of Connecticut, you are allowed to take the GED in English or Spanish. So that's something that we have not offered before. We've also just recently started allowing people to come in and test at our location. We're hoping eventually that we will be able to be an official GED test location, which would bring in additional funding. The struggle that we have with that is we need to have a hardwired building to internet, and a lot of our building is Wi-Fi based. So we do one-on-one where they set up with a laptop and they test right at our location. We're also hoping to get a Para-Pro preparation program off the ground. We've cleared all the hurdles. The last piece that we need is for the testing on site for the hardwire for internet. And that's been in partnership with Kelly and Kim, so that hopefully as students finish our programming, whether it's CDP or GED, we're working towards a program that would allow them a guaranteed interview for a para position once they finish that Para-Pro. So it's kind of a multi-pronged approach to helping not only our adult learner, but helping some of the initiatives that are happening in the district. I talked a little bit about our workforce partnerships, which has brought in additional funding. And then last but not least, this is kind of big because it's also brought in some funding for us. Last year, the state had, for many years, a partnership with Charter Oak for adult learners that allowed adult learners to take their classes for CDP online. Last year, Charter Oak said that they were kind of through with that partnership. And it left a lot of adult ed providers high and dry. There were no online options for their students. We were a bit proactive with that because we weren't really loving the programming offered through that partnership. So this summer, before that partnership had dissolved, we started creating our own online classes. We are currently offering 4 of those classes online to our partners. We're also offering to area providers their ability to enroll students into that program and pay per student into that program, which brings us in funding at no additional cost to us. So that's helping to offset any additional funding from the board. I really want to take a lot of time tonight to go through the family literacy programming. It's something that I'm really proud of. It's something that we've spent a lot of time, a lot of funding, and I think it's the most bang for our buck. So there are 4 components to a family literacy program. They're up on the board. The adult education is the first. For all of our family literacy program, that looks like ESL. So we're currently operating out of 6 elementary schools. All participants come in, they have an hour and a half of ESL. The second piece to that is parent and child together activities. That could mean anything from learning how to read with your child at home. It could mean learning how to do certain math activities or examples at home. The third piece to that rather, is parenting education. So right now, we've done a lot of work on what that looks like. That could mean effective communication at home. We've also had admin from those 6 elementary schools come in and actually work with the parents on how to understand their child's iReady scores and the importance of attendance in school. Right? We're really trying to make this a support for our elementary school and the goals that they have so that we can help support that because we're servicing the parents at night for these programs. The last piece to that is the early childhood and elementary education. So the kids are actually getting an extra hour and a half at night of additional instruction from certified staff to help them with their developmental academic skills. I'm not going to read this out loud. I would like you to take a moment and read through it. It will also give me a chance to drink a quick thing of water before I start coughing again. The student testimonials that we've gotten from these programs has been heartwarming, it's been powerful, and it's telling us that it's working. So this is a federal initiative. It comes out of the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. It's a bipartisan bill that has been around dating back to the 1940s. Okay? It is centered around workforce development. So the idea here is that if we're educating the parent and upskilling the parent and upskilling the child, we are going to have a more positive and more effective workforce. The objectives for the program, determined by the federal government, are right on the board. So helped more frequently with school, increased contact with the child's teacher, more involved in the children's school activities, increased involvement in children's literacy activities, includes reading to children, visiting the library, purchasing books or magazines. So our goals as an organization, 50% of our participants will develop increased confidence in working with children on their educational needs at home. We told the federal government in our grant application that we were going to service 180 participants, and at least 30 of those participants were going to see an increase in their knowledge or their skills through the tests that we have to administer. I think you're going to be pretty impressed with what we've delivered on. This is one more student testimonial. So we've serviced 601 parents compared to the 180 that we had to for the grant. Now, there are currently 2 providers in the state that have gone past their enrollment and retention goal. We're one of them. Most other districts are struggling with this number. Take a look at our statistics. 95.31% felt more confident in supporting their child's education. 94.7% found it easier to attend classes with the program offered in their child's school. 91.4% felt more connected to their child's community. 89.06% were better able to communicate with their child's teacher. Those are great numbers. That's telling us that this program is working. As of March, so we were supposed to hit 30%, right? 30% growth. As of March, meaning that we still have 3 more months left to test students, we're already at 27.9% of participants making scaled score gains on that test. That's a result of all the teamwork that our division has put into revamping this curriculum, really trying to align our services to supporting and helping the public school system with the parents that are enrolled in our programs. So this number is provided to us by the state, who gets this from the federal government. Currently in Danbury, there are 14,783 residents without a high school diploma. There's 7,723 who do not speak English. Yes, please.
How many in that total don't speak English? In the 14,000?
They don't break that down for us, unfortunately. These numbers are provided to us by the state, and they get those numbers from the federal government. So if you take a look, I wanted to talk through this growth with you for a minute. Last time that I was here, right around this time, last year, we were at roughly 600 individuals, right? By the end of the year, we were at 835. This year, we're not even done with the year, individual enrollments for our program surpassed 1,000. We're past where we were pre-COVID. Okay. In the last 2 years, we've more than doubled our enrollment. Let's talk about who we're serving. 90.4% are parents or guardians in Danbury. Just shy of 73% of them are employed while they're attending We Race, so they're working while they're attending school with us. Just shy of 67% of them fall within the age range of 25 to 44. 25% of them, as they enter us into our program, read at or above an intermediate school level in English. That means that 75% of them are coming in with less than 6th grade English skills. just over 14% of them hold a post-secondary or professional degree from another country. And the median earnings for our students falls at $36,724. The reason that that's important, you also have in front of you a fact sheet that I provided to you. Upon completion, our data shows that they get roughly, and this is an approximation and this is an average, about $9,000 increase to their income. That's a huge increase compared to where they start. These are our programming locations this year. So we're operating our family literacy programming out of Ellsworth, out of Park, out of Haystown, Morris, Shelter Rock, Stabley Ruff. We're also holding programming at the library, at the high school, and then at our 2 locations at 10 and 2 Crosby Street. We also have our virtual option. The partnerships that we have this year, we're partnering with the American Jobs Center, which is part of the Workforce Investment Board, the Yukon Extension Program, the Regional Workforce Board, Milford Adult Education, Read to Grow, which has been instrumental in our family literacy programming, CT State Community College, and then the Family and Community Engagement Center. Where are we headed? So my goal is to continue expanding our partnerships. We know that those partnerships have not only brought us in funding, but it's built our ability and our capacity to service more people in the community. We're looking to enhance our family literacy programming and our workforce development programs. This summer, we're going to be doing a bigger overhaul of our family literacy programming to greater align it to the academic skills and the school improvement plans of each school that we're going to be operating out of, so that while there will be certain core components that we will include in those family literacy programs, if there are specific indicators or measures that a specific school is focused in on for improving for next year, we're hoping to tailor some of what we're doing in those family literacy programs to those specific schools. And then continuing to increase access to flexible high school completion programming. One more student testimonial. I'm going to read out that last sentence because that's what really gets me. This program was life-changing for me and my family. How many times do we hear that from parents?
I got a comment.
Please.
I was talking with some friends, and I was mentioning that you have to learn English to get ahead, and they took offense at that. It was just so bizarre. So bizarre. It helps them.
I find for the adult learners that I work with on a daily basis, they recognize the importance of learning English. That's why they're there, right? I mean, you saw the data, about 77% of our adult learners are employed. That means at the end of a 8 or 9 or 10-hour workday, they're spending 2.5 hours with us, 3 hours with us. That's a pretty big dedication, right? So thankfully, I haven't had that experience. Most of our learners are very excited to be with us, and up until last year, we had a wait list that was pretty significant. Any other questions?
Rick, thanks so much for sharing all this with us. Have you guys set a date for graduation?
We have. We just did last week, June 4th, and it's going to be at Broadview. It's going to be at 6:30.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions before I just go to the fact sheet for a quick moment? Okay, so on this fact sheet, you're going to see that in total, WeRace has a budget of just over $1 million. That comes from 3 different sources. That comes from state aid, our cooperating districts, so we currently cooperate with 7 districts that pay us to offer that service, and then you guys put in $375,000. Okay, the board currently contributes $375,000. This year, so through March, this number has obviously increased because we're in the middle of April, we've serviced 1,334 individuals. Our per pupil cost is incredibly small for what these adult learners are getting. And these are people in our community, right? Over 80% of them are Danbury Public School parents, guardians, people that are coming home to kids in our school. So we get a lot of bang for our buck with this program, and it's a game changer. It's a community development tool, and it's a really powerful tool for our community. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick, before you leave the table, I just want to commend you on the work that you've done to increase the enrollment and to really make the adult ed program a really friendly, accessible program that people want to come to. I think through word of mouth, people have, the good word has spread about how easy it is to enroll, and there's been a lot of improvement under your leadership that has made it more accessible and user-friendly. Particularly when we have folks who might have some challenges in accessing, particularly with language. So you have great reviews from your staff, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate the efforts and your leadership on the work that you've done. There isn't a day, maybe a month or a week that goes by where Rick isn't sending me something to sign off on that's starting over there, so I have to, which today was another example. So you're always applying for grants, you're always applying for the next opportunity, and I love that. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Flower arranging courses.
There's different. Rick, just what are the other types of non-academic things that you offer? Just a brief summary of other sort of
Okay, there we go, sorry.
credit bearing.
Sure, credit bearing?
Well, floral arrangement.
Perfect. So the goal last year was to start that continuing education. As a result of funding and the increased enrollment that we've had, that has not happened. The hope is that, say that one more time?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I might have missed.
No, you did not. So we hope to have that off the ground soon. If I'm being very candid with you, we're currently operating, aside from the additional teachers that are part-time with us, we're operating with the same exact staff that we had 3 years ago when we were servicing less than half the people that we're currently servicing. So we're working on that for next year, but we're very close to capacity, if not at capacity, with regard to what our staff can take on currently. But it's on the radar. It hasn't gone off the radar.
How long does it take to go through the program?
Really varies, right? So if you come in and you have, if you test in a pre-test at second grade math level, you're probably going to take longer than somebody that comes in at 11th or 12th grade math level, right? It really varies. What we're consistently challenged to do is find programming that works for anybody that walks through our door. And that's really what we've tried to reimagine, and I think we've done it fairly successfully.
You have.
Yeah. Anybody else? Cool.
Okay, superintendent report. We have a couple items tonight. I know in the curriculum meeting, the last time that this group gathered, it was mentioned that we had a wonderful surprise in one of our King Street intermediate students being named as a published author as a result of submission and work through our program. So Logan Thibodeau in grade 5 has been awarded the American Reading Company Award of Excellence for his book, Welcome to the Arctic. His work will be published and included in a future student collection, which is an absolutely incredible honor. Logan also is not alone. We have David Palomik from grade 5 as well, who received an honorable mention for his book, Journey into the Arctic, and the company is eager to see more of his work in the future. So we've sparked a real interest. Part of that has to do with some of those, one of the greatest things about the program is the rich text collections that are included in the program that really are inspirational, and the nonfiction collections, and as well as many other books. So I think that there's just been a lot of renewed interest in some areas, so we're very excited that this is ongoing. We have, just a small note, and I'm sure, I think Mr. Roche went through this the last time, but only 15 books have been published by ARC in the past decade. And so we have, right, so this is quite an honor, quite an achievement. So We just want to say congratulations to Logan and David, and we have followed up with them and
We give them a round.
we absolutely do. A family member of yours? Okay, well, he's now a celebrity. You have to stand in line now to meet your family member. Okay, great. I'm going to go a little out of order. I'll address some of the smaller things first. The DHS transportation update. So as I mentioned before, we were working hard with STA to come up with a plan to re-tier and to readjust and to bring on more buses to accommodate the splitting of the campuses, which was proving very complicated in trying to start Danbury High School and the West Campus at the same time and somehow be all over the city, traverse the city. So that we were having some issues with the original plan, which would allow buses, which would ask the buses to pick up students from all over the city and then make stops at both schools, but that would leave a very large supervision gap in the morning and in the afternoon where the teacher contractual time was not lining up with that. So with further pushing and further maneuvering, another plan was created that actually seems to be more efficient and is the best plan. And in that plan, there was the idea to combine the two runs that are similar in the sense that they have to go across the entire city. So the students who go to Danbury High School, Danbury High West, will come from all directions, as well as at the same time West Side Middle School. They have the same type of scenario. So the proposal by STA, they thought that by combining those two runs together in the morning, that would solve that big supervision gap, economize the runs, and also allow us to not have to bring on nearly as many buses, which we were going to, which was a major expense on the academy side. So what that would mean is that high school and middle school students, next year it would be 6 through 10, no ninth graders would be 10th and 11th graders, and then 6 through 8 would be combined on a bus. We of course would have middle school students sit up in front, a little bit closer to the bus driver, and high school students in the back. It's not dissimilar. Well, it's a change in practice for us. It's something that we're going to have to, get used to if we move in this direction. And again, we're still working on it. That's something that is not dissimilar to the way some of the surrounding towns operate now, who have 6 through 12 bus runs as well because of the size of their district. So it's just not something we've done in the past, but it will allow us to not have a complete total disruption across the school system with the tiers. Otherwise, we were looking at changing all the elementary times and pushing out further those those PM elementary schools, which are already cutting it very close. Their PD days, Tuesdays, get over, I think, at 5:10, which has been very difficult for many of our teachers and their families. So with that, I wanted to make sure that the board was up to date on where we're at. It's something that once we are able to kind of finalize, we'll be communicating with families so that they're aware of it, of course, and we'll do our best to answer those questions as they come up, and I'm sure you have questions as well.
Regarding this contract?
Regarding the concept of combining these runs so that we can fit it into our tiers.
So are you considering, like we had some people make some public comments about not being able to access certain courses like music and arts if you're in one pathway or I'm assuming campus? How is that getting worked out?
So this is about the transportation runs.
Right.
And combining the
During the day.
middle school students and the high school, and the DHS West Academy students.
Yeah.
So that's a separate situation, but so right now, because we're opening up a second campus, I've had some questions around whether or not the academy model itself would be a reason why students would be able to access some courses. So once you choose an academy, once you get selected into academy, the goal is that you elected to participate in an academy with certain pathway courses that are of interest and that allow you to achieve perhaps a credential at the end. And so those electives are kind of programmed in by design when you are enrolled in an academy. So that's those are one sort of electives. We have a lot of AP electives that we offer at Denver High School, probably more than anybody in the state. Maybe, I think we offer all but maybe one or two that AP, the College Board, even offers. So those will be enrollment driven. So if there is enough interest and if we have the teacher trained, we'll enroll in the same way that we've continued to enroll. So if we have a need for 10 sections of something, what we've done in the past is we've offered 10 sections if we have the teaching staff to offer those sections. The same will be true over at the academy, at DHS Academy on the West Campus. We will not, we're going to run into trouble. There are things like AP Calculus, where we typically only have, I need to remember, maybe 7 or 8 students max. That would be way more difficult to try to accommodate and run a class when there's not the demand and the enrollment. So as we transition through this, we're going to find out where the demand is and the enrollment and do our best to accommodate, but we're not going to be able to offer every single class at each of the campuses. That's just not going to be feasible. It'll be based on student demand. For example, I think someone brought up the idea that, and I take the culinary, I still want to do the culinary, even though I'm in the business course. So the culinary, unfortunately, we have one kitchen set up, and that's at DHS main campus. So that might not be an elective that a student would be able to take. Not to say that in the future we might not be able to figure out how to possibly do an A day, B day run where we have classes, but that's very complicated at this time. And Mr. Donovan and his team are working extraordinarily hard trying to develop a master schedule that straddles 2 campuses and with existing staff that need to be in certain places. So it will be challenging. The caveat, though, I will say, is that we are bringing on a multitude of other opportunities. So, for example, we've had hundreds of students enrolled in the post-university taking advantage of the online courses. So students are earning college credit. It was so successful with the number of students that were, and this is cutting across all academies, all students have access to this, that they are able to run another 6 or 8 week course after this one that will conclude. So it was very popular. So we're going to be able to offer a lot more opportunities on the university side, and we'll continue to offer a majority of the AP opportunities. I do think over time, and I think folks will see this down the road, the university credits that will be lining up are going to be far more valuable than an AP course. And I say that because people like the AP courses because it's traditional and that's what everyone knows. But when you have a child that can, let's say they take the AP course and they get a 2 or a 3 on the exam. I use my own daughter as an example. She got a lot of 4s, but she didn't get any 5s. UConn didn't take any of those AP courses. So had she taken a college course and completed it even with a C, she would have gotten university credit for that. So those college courses are like cash, right? You can go anywhere with those and transfer those in. So we're going to continue to offer the AP courses, but as we bring on more dual opportunities, I think you're going to see the interest start to shift over time, which is ultimately we'd love to see that happen.
How many credits are those college courses?
3 credits.
3?
3 credits.
So are you balancing that? Because with public comment, there was a conversation that there were less AP, so we might offer all of them,
Right.
but we may not be offering them. Or
On
on
each
each
campus.
show.
Right.
Right, so in other words, you're saying that we might be kind of not offering as many AP, but more of the,
It'll be
of the college.
both. Right now, we're trying to bring on the university credits. We're trying to grow that side of it, make it more available to everybody. Again, AP right now is open enrollment, and we want our college courses to be open enrollment as well. Now, what that means is that just like an AP course, it might not be the right fit for everybody, but they get an opportunity to try it and test it out. You may not be an A student. You don't have to be an A student. You have a passion for science or environmental science. You're really into it. Chances are you're going to be pretty good in that course if you have a passion for it. So we do have open enrollment there. Likewise, we want to do open enrollment with the university courses. So we're going to make that widely available to all students. If you go back to a couple of board meetings, we had a listing of all the courses that we're offering through POST right now, and we're continuing to build those partnerships with universities to continue to offer more. So you can be completely in your pathway, be able to take several college courses that are aligned specifically with the pathway that you're in. So you get high school credit, you satisfy your credit, and you're going to get college credit. So that's, we're going to grow that. We're in a transition period, and we are, it's going to be bumpy for a few years. We have seniors coming next year that are not necessarily in the cohort, if you will, but are going to be placed somewhere. So those are the kids I think I feel the most for, because they're really the ones really caught in the transition, looking for certain things that they've known traditionally to be there that may be a little.
And then, I'm sorry, back to transportation, sports. I get a lot of calls in the year because of the sports and the busing and the fact that they can't make it to the campus on time or whatever. Is this part of the solution as well when you're talking about the two campuses, sports, how do they, how?
Just clarify getting back to campus on time. What is
Yeah, in other words.
For our high school, our Danbury High School
Yeah, like our
students?
Danbury sports and certain schools that will be, in other words, how are sports addressed in the district?
So-
And then outside, like if you've got private schools, those are the ones that we're kind of
private
getting more of. But in other words, you're considering sports and our
So we're going to run buses with this proposed model, and again, we're working out, it depends, every year it'll flux based on where the students are living, but we'll have buses that come back to Danbury High School if you need to come back for sports or after-school activities. There'll be a section of buses that will stop there at the transfer station, let kids off, pick kids up and go, whereas the DHS West buses, the kids that are not involved in that, will just carry on.
And there were 4 buses, was that what you were adding to the budget?
So the original plan, I think we had 28 buses in there, and that was like a $2 point-something million ask because of the buses. And this model will probably need about only half of that. So
Thank you.
it works for a lot of reasons.
I have a question. So we'd be putting 6th graders with 10th and 11th graders?
Yes.
And are we planning on putting somebody on the bus? I mean, it concerns me. There's a big age group change, between that, and so I'm having a little trouble with that, mixing up with that.
Yeah. And I completely understand that. I think when the idea was first proposed, that would be an efficient solution, but also make the most sense in terms of our meeting contractual obligations, the supervision problems that we were struggling with, and then having to change every school district, every school. Don't forget too, when we make that shift, it's the lunch waves have to change, and then Kim has to go and open up contracts and renegotiate all different types of movement that happens with supervision, custodians, everything. So it was going to be very complicated to shift all of those contracts. That aside, as a parent, my first brain went to, yes, middle school and high school students. It's just something that we haven't done here. And many of our surrounding towns, and we started to talk about the idea a little bit of cabinet, we've got folks who live in the surrounding towns, and they're like, oh yeah, that's what my town does. Are there any issues with it? Not really. Kids are pretty good, they treat each other well. Mornings are quiet, usually, on these bus runs. The afternoons, those bus runs get a little bit more active. And I would say that if we had experienced a problem, and we have experienced a problem with just current situations where we had to sometimes go monitor, but that's something that we could consider. If there's a specific problem with that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren.
So you said 6 to 11, right?
So-
But not 9?
Not 9, which is actually a good thing.
Right.
If they're our most active.
Right. Because they'll be at Danbury.
They'll be at Danbury High School. So it'll only be your 10th, 11th, and 12th graders.
Okay, so 12th graders.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, not next year, but the year after when they roll up the 12th graders.
Okay, so, okay, got it.
Yes, Juanita.
And so, a couple of things, when we talk about the AP, but the bus, we will be prepared as a board to respond to any bus issues that may be created with those populations being put together. Do we see any of those buses already with the route that they are going to be taking be a large number of students on any of the runs.
Be a what?
A large number.
Oh, a large number.
Students.
That's the part that only STA will figure out as we've just provided them the address of the students that are proposed, that we know of, that are going to DHS West, the incoming sixth graders from the lottery, and the current sixth and seventh, which will roll up to be your seventh and eighth graders. And so they're taking all of those names and addresses and then working up a scenario to see where all these students live, how we distribute buses, how many buses exactly we would need. So that's kind of an estimate around 14 buses. And they're going to kind of confirm what we would need. We've got special education students that need minibuses between those buildings, and so we'll have to figure out how that might change. So we're still very much in the process of working through the technical logistics. We're kind of moving from the conceptual idea of it to now, let's run this through and test it. Let's push on it and see what it actually looks like when it comes to fruition. So they're going to be running tests through that.
So with our collaboration with our bus company, I want to see us be more proactive instead of reactive to situations that may come up. So we want to be very informed. The boots on the ground are the bus drivers. Through their communication with the bus company or supervisors, if they're hearing anything, we want to be able to do something about it before it becomes a big issue. Or it may not be, but if we're hearing it,
yes,
then we want to.
I agree.
I would think we would want to.
And it would be something we would be very sensitive to, particularly in the beginning. And of course, correcting early and front loading what those expectations are would be important.
Okay. So Mr. Janelli, could you hold on just a minute? Mr. Janelli, could you hold just 1 minute? Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Cooper. Quick question for you, Kara, about this. In thinking about sort of the logistics here, with the 10th through 12th graders, once the 10th graders have chosen their, 9th graders have chosen their academy, so when you're giving this information to the bus companies, you have to divide it by whatever academy a student is being selected into, not only address, but the academy. Correct?
Right, so once we know who's going to be on which campus, those addresses will be what the bus company's interested in to then plan out the runs in conjunction with the students who are going to West Side Academy. So they want to look to see how those runs would juxtapose one another, and then how many more buses they would need to handle the rest of the students going to Danbury High School for the other 4 academies that are there. It's complicated. There is everything that we're doing now between the schedule and busing. There's a lot of complexity in it.
May I ask one quick follow-up to that, please? The other thing I just want to ask about is if you have a student who's switching academies, will we have enough flexibility in our busing situation to accommodate a switch of campus, maybe?
More than likely, we'd have to work through those challenges, but that just, we have students who have to switch buses during the year, elementary school for one reason or another, guardianship, so we work through those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Janelli?
Carol, I was unclear, at this point, what's the estimated number of additional buses that you plan to obtain for the new facility?
So right now, STA ballparks, it'd be about 14 buses plus or minus a number of minis to accompany that as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the number.
About 14 buses was the kind of first run at this. And that's kind of a wholesale look based on numbers. And then once they start to plug in real time and logistically, geographically across the city where these runs are happening, we might need to add a bus or two, we might need to reduce a bus or two. We budgeted for, in the current budget, 28 buses, which we anticipated at the time was enough to serve sort of the 1,400, but by economizing the runs, we think we could save quite a bit of money. But then again, also avoid all that supervision and disruption across the city. Supervision issue and disruption across the city.
So we initially, I thought the number was about 20 buses, and we're down to about 14 or 15. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we budgeted for 28 buses. I have to go back and I'm looking at Mike Weaver. Is it 28?
28.
28 was what I believe this one as well.
it's hard to get, how many buses were there?
28 buses, Mr. Janelli. We've budgeted for 28 buses. We think we'll need at this moment in time around 14, give or take.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. The audio is just,
Yes, it is talking. We have the door open, so that doesn't help on your side of the room.
So I have two questions. What are the start times of middle school and the high school? And then my follow-up question is, where do we stand with the transportation coordinator?
So we think that we can, that the high school time can be stay relatively close to what it is now. And we actually, initially when we first started thinking about this, we thought that the middle school would have to shift to the Danbury High School start time. But after reworking things more, Kelly Watson has still been supportive, even though she's working at another STA location. She's been extraordinarily supportive. We believe that we would be dropping off at DHS West and then making a stop at West Side. So they would be starting around the same time, not too disruptive. So within probably 15 minutes of what they would be used to, what they would normally be doing. But we're still going to keep massaging those runs until we see. So there would be the least amount of disruption with this model. But the only thing I'm going to keep my eye on is how long students would have to stay on the bus in this model. So that's something that I think we'll know a little bit more as we get closer with the details. And the student transportation, we have interviews, we have a couple people that we like, and we're trying to move it forward. So it will not be the same as Kelly Watson. We miss her terribly.
Are there any school districts around this area that are mixed middle school and high school?
Do. I believe Region 15 was one that we talked about. Kelly, we talked about was Newtown, Brookfield. They run a little bit separate, but they run at the same time. And I believe it was Fairfield as well. A lot of the smaller towns are forced to combine. We never had to do that because of our numbers, but this is a little bit different situation.
So this would be a new challenge.
It will be, particularly to communicate with parents that, the change and understand the change. And, as a parent like myself, I understand completely why they be concerned. I think we have due diligence to ensure that the students that are at the bus understand what the expectations are, and that we really do a good job at the beginning of clarifying what those are and holding everybody accountable for good behavior. Kelly?
I can just add, and certainly as the parent of a middle schooler myself, I understand the concern. I will say in talking with a lot of the districts that are currently doing it, they are reporting that it is very successful. And in fact, in some cases, they have even went as far as reporting that high school students serve as role models positively to some of our middle schoolers. So certainly will be a transition with some bumps and challenges, but I do think, overwhelmingly the feedback from surrounding districts was very positive regarding us. So they were able to kind of alleviate some of our concerns and answer questions.
It is a concern. I graduated a long time ago, and we was at the elementary kids sit on the front of the bus, high school children sit in the back. So I think we have to be very clear and let them understand, this is the way it's going to be, and there's a penalty when you step out of line.
I agree. We'll keep you posted on that as we continue to work through it.
Okay.
Okay? And also continue to have to answer any questions on it. AIS, so we have some of our AIS staff that are here in the back, and we just spoke with them on Tuesday. We did travel up to AIS to kind of give them an update as far as where we are with the status of AIS operating as a magnet school. I'm happy to report that after working with the state, we are going to continue to operate as a magnet. We're going to be able to, and I may have provided this update a little bit earlier, but we'll be able to continue to accept students, although even if it's at a reduced out-of-district rate that could interfere a little bit with some of our percentages, we would still receive magnet funding for the number that we do receive. We might be on a corrective action plan indefinitely, but there's no penalty. Several years ago, there was a penalty if you stepped out of that ratio. They removed the penalty, and it's really more just about the work that you have to do and paperwork. So we can continue to do that. But the school still is under-enrolled, and we anticipate that if we would keep moving forward, that it would continue to be under-enrolled. We talked with the AIS staff just Tuesday about potentially moving some special programs into the school, maximize the space that is there, and pending enrollment needs. We have a big enrollment meeting coming up it's next week, in the middle of the week. We have enrollment meetings several times a year to check in on where we are with schools that may be experiencing an increase or a decrease. Most often we're dealing with the increase, opening up another section and determining how to divert students if a grade or a school is full. And so as we do that process, we often, for example, when we formed the budget, we added 3 elementary teachers in there, kind of TBD. Because at the time that we had our enrollment meeting earlier in the year, there was some indication that we would likely need that. That changes rapidly in this district. Our enrollment tends to flux. So we're going to have one more meeting, which really kind of dictates sort of what we end up deciding that we need to do for the fall of next year. We also take things like that in line with our budget. But then also things like the fact that we may be overcrowded in some places or in some programming and we need to disperse. And so there's a potential that we would do move programs over AIS. There's another school that we're looking at as well. Next week's meeting, when we put all of those moving parts together, program need, overcrowding, the staffing requirements, and budget, we make final decisions and lock that in. We'll come back to the board with those decisions and communicate that, and we'll also be communicating with AIS. I know that they're very concerned. They lost a grade level last year, they lost a staff member, and they're very concerned about losing more family members at the school, and it is very much a family, and so we are very conscientious of that. At the end of the day, we'll make the best decision that we can for the students and for the district as a way forward. So, and again, thank you for coming. One more? Okay. The budget update. Okay, so this week was a big budget week for us here, as many of our board members already know. I did have an opportunity to present our school budget for the most part last night at the council. And why I say for the most part, that is because we spent a good amount of time talking about the audit, the status of the audit, the 23 audit, and potential for another surplus in 24. As soon as we started to realize, that could be another repeat issue during the 23 and 24, we wanted to bring that to the attention and kind of tackle that head on. As a district, this has been challenging for us. We took over at a challenging time of fiscal challenge, and we're working our best as city collaboration, board collaboration, and also our administration here to correct some of the issues that we're now seeing that plagued us in terms of our ability to accurately forecast and to maintain and keep up. And I want to thank the current finance team that's in place for the hard work that's ongoing, as well as our city partners. Our ability to be able to see the bottom, as I've been saying, is only as a result of the acceleration around the audits, which were outstanding since, I believe, 21, and that are only now being caught up. As a district, we have a lot of work to do to continue to correct systems and structures that have not been implemented with fidelity, and we'll continue to work on those. As of today, and as of the proposed budget that the mayor has indicated and where we believe will end up landing, the mayor has proposed for us, against our $34 million ask, a $12 million increase, as well as our ability to continue to use the ARPA funds, $4 million worth of ARPA funds, heading into next year. We also believe that we're going to be able to take a percentage of some of the surpluses that do exist, because we now are able to withhold, we have something called the 2% account, and the 2% account allows us to withhold any surpluses on the Board of Ed side versus the city side. So for example, when there is a surplus that money stays on the city side, and then the town council and the mayor decides what they will do with that money. So we don't hold the money here, that goes back to the city, or remains with the city, I should say. However, as of last year, legislation was passed so that the boards of ed may withhold 2% of any surplus, 2% of our budget max. And so those numbers could be, and should be around 3 million and potentially 2.4 million. And so we'll be using those one-time funds to help us offset and responsibly close down on the budget that we'll need to operate effectively next year. Those combination of one-time funds and the funding that the mayor and his team has proposed would bring us to about $190.5 million. And our original ask was $194.5. So, we're pretty close, and we'll make some decisions about how to close that gap. We will have to, be concerned with, of course, with one-time funds about where that leaves us for 26, 27. But we're going to be exploring every opportunity to increase revenue, to pursue grants, to continue to work with the city. There's a lot of folks working behind the scenes to increase some of our numbers. In fact, I missed the 9.1 million in Alliance. That's how we get to the 190. So, that funding in particular for the Alliance grant was originally set to be $5.7 million. And there's been a lot of talk and advocacy around changing that formula, some of which our own legislators here in Danbury were part and parcel to helping to get those formulas changed, along with numerous superintendents who were through their advocacy as well. And so I believe that the formula included increases for the accounting of multi-language learners, special education, and high needs students. So with that, our number shot up to 9.1, which helps us out tremendously. Those are sustainable funds as opposed to one-time funds, so we can continue to rely on that moving forward so long as that Alliance grant remains in place. But that is our carve-out of ECS. When we have an Alliance, the Alliance grant requires us to, there's a lot of constraints in it, so we have to get creative in how we program staff and the work that we do among all of the other grants that we fund a myriad of our staffing needs with. So it creates a complex picture for us to jigsaw all of those pieces together. But once again, I will never turn down one-time funds. We will continue to work towards sustainability in the future. Of course, the mayor will give his final number on Thursday, and that is at City Hall, and that is 6 or 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Sorry, I'm getting the different meetings. Getting the different meetings mixed up. Council chambers, thank you, at 7 o'clock. There'll be a public session, so we'll be in attendance at that, and you never know. So hopefully, again, we're prepared to move forward for next year with the funding that we have responsibly, and we'll continue to seek out sustainable funding sources. So I just wanted to give that little summary update.
Teresa.
I just want to commend Dr. Casimiro on 3 things that were brought out at the meeting. First, that it was a surplus that we have left over, as opposed to a negative. So in a way, it's a positive, so that was good. The other thing is the list that they created of new procedures to go forward with the budget, things that they need to do, a checkoff list. And third, mention of a 3-year plan down the road. So it was a very positive evening, I thought.
Okay.
Kara, do we have an update as to the actual total dollar amount of the Alliance grant? I can't recall exactly where that lands. I know
Overall, like the whole thing, I think it'll be 30 million.
It's 30.0 now.
Yeah, 30.0 now, so it'll go up at 9.1 to that, and that will be our number for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, that should stick.
It's excellent. I'm so glad that we're getting that
Yes.
additional funding. But it does, to your point, complicate things when you have such a large amount of money that is
Restricted
very
funds.
restricted funds. Thank you.
That's what you're going to use for staffing for the west side.
Yeah, so the preponderance of the new staff will be programmed in there. I already, this year, a major strategy was around the academies and the staffing for that, and it was accepted as an innovation strategy. So now that that's accepted, I feel comfortable, and I had to get pre-approval to do that. I was very nervous heading into this year, but I did get pre-approval. And so what that says to me is that other staff that fits into that same strategy would be accepted, so.
And Mr. Janelle, you have a question?
I have a question. Yeah, thank you. Any calculation of covering up and meeting the need of the proposed budget of 194 versus what we were given. In that calculation, I understand that you utilizing the full $9 million for Alliance. I believe that's going to be capped this year, and so it's going to be frozen. As we discussed before, if you max that number out in future years because of the large quantity of salaries in there, we're going to be sure the cost of living increases, and particularly the contract coming up in the summer for the teachers, is to provide, for those costs of contract increases. Are we short selling ourselves and saying that we're going to use the full $9 million, or is there a way that we can say, hypothetically, $7 million or $8 million we're going to use when we keep $1 million for future cost of living increases?
Yes, that's a great question, and absolutely. So we absolutely need to create a cushion in Alliance for those contractual increases. We did that heading into this year as well. And you can project that out a couple of years at a basic percentage rate of a typical contractual growth. What that would mean is that it would squeeze out other things that we have programmed in Alliance: materials, resources, training, professional development, potentially the amount of subs that we can utilize in the district. So the staffing will become sort of a central focus to maintain our staffing levels, and we'll have to get creative with how we fund some other things. It will cap out. It is scheduled to, we spent a long time trying to get that acceleration and being fully funded in our Alliance. We're here. We've arrived at that fully funded accelerated number in ECS, and so then it levels out from this point forward. So it will not continue to grow. However, there is a lot of back channel. Districts are quite panicked about that, as you can imagine, particularly ones like ours. And people are asking for at least cost of living adjustments and typical incremental growth over time, not the large increases that we have, but certainly there's a lot of superintendent talk on that topic now.
The only thing that happened, and I think, although I wasn't there last night, but I was able to get a pretty good narrative to what happened, is once again, it shows that the city continues to underfund us. And the only thing that was demonstrated again last night, and that you're talking now, is the ability that the district has had over the years to make do with what we get. By that I mean, we have that money in Alliance and we're using it, pushing the envelope for stuff that it's really not supposed to be used for. And when you look at that, the calculations that we're coming up with now to make do with $190 million, there's some $8 or $9 million one-time money that's in there that really burdens us because we keep kicking a can down the road on that particular issue. So, I was glad that the comment that the 3-year budget was because I've been saying that for a long time. But if there's no concern on how to meet those numbers in the 3-year budget, then it's a waste of exercise. Again, this entire process that we went through last night is a waste. I've been dealing with that for 18 years and nothing has changed. The script is the same. It comes with a script. They don't change the script. In many cases, it's been a very contentious meeting. Really, it's a waste of time. I'm extremely upset about a $12 million fund, allocation given to us particularly when we're looking to give them back $20 million. And we've been talking about opening a new school for the last 3 years. You know, this is an election year. We can understand the mayor doesn't want to raise taxes during election year, and we get the brunt of it. So that's my editorial comments. And I do plan to talk about that last night. I think the city can give us another $4 or $5 million to close that 190 to 194.
Thank you, Mr. Janetta. Kate?
I can certainly understand the frustration with the process. Like, we sit around this table and we do our work to try to bring forward the most responsible budget we can as far as meeting the needs of our students. You know, I think tomorrow night is an opportunity for families, for community members to come into the public hearing and share their thoughts about what is happening with the city budget and with the school budgets with the council, because they're the ones that have the final say in this. So that's the opportunity. 7 o'clock tomorrow evening at City Hall on the 3rd floor in the council chambers. That's a great chance for folks to come in and share what they think about what's happening with the budget process. Thank you.
I'll just add to that. I think one of the key slides that we talked about in the past that has been presented, got a little shortchanged last night because the conversation ran long on the audit, is really around the services that we're able to provide students, which has always been something that we've really centered on. We've gone a long time without having all the resources that we need in terms of the hard material supplies, but there's nothing more important than the actual teacher and paraprofessional, paraeducator, and pupil service contact with students. And so that's something that you know, that came up a little bit last night. We talked about pupil services in understanding that we have gotten by, but what does that mean for kids? And you know, there's legal compliance, there's regular compliance, and then there's actually meaningful connections, there's meaningful support and services. And that's something that we'll continue to advocate for, is that we may have X amount of social workers, but that doesn't mean we don't need X amount more to meet the true needs of our kids. Reactive support, as opposed to getting out there and doing proactive planning with kids, running groups and getting to kids in different ways. That was just one example that was brought up last night. So there is still absolutely an opportunity to come and advocate for the budget. You know, the parental involvement, right from our PTO and staying connected, is extremely important. You know, when we put the budget together, I knew this was a great ask. This was something that I don't think we've ever done before here in terms of really just asking for what we need. In years past, I witnessed very marginal asks, knowing behind the scenes that we really need a lot more. And you know, there's a give and take between understanding the needs of the city and what taxpayers can bear, but also articulating what the school system needs. This budget laid out what we need, and people can't say that we didn't put this forward. We're going to continue to work on this. I think people know that we do have needs here. Next year, we'll be able to survive and cobble together some one-time funds, but heading into the year after that, you know, the same concerns will remain for us and will still be a challenge. So while next year will survive, again, in the future, we're going to continue to work on building sustainable funds. The caveat to that is I do think that there is, we're being heard. You know, between my personal conversations and feedback that I'm getting, you know, I feel like there's a goodwill behind the work, and I'd like to continue to keep that bridge going strong. And but we need to close down this gap dramatically. So it's going to take a lot of effort and work and relationship building, but also we've got to start thinking about revenue streams for the city and for the school district.
I have another comment there. Carrie, you used the word survive, and I think we've got to get out of survival mode, because that doesn't help us. So all that does is allow us to keep ahead, you know, above water and treading water. We've got an issue with the district where we have a retention issue on personnel. We have a hiring issue because there's a lack of bodies out there, as well as perhaps a competitive thing. And so, in addition to surviving, we continue, I keep saying this, put the burden on our staff. And at this point here, I think at some point, this staff has to be supported and shown that there is a willingness to support education. And all we do every single year is to, for all the years I've been on this board, whether it's been 0 increases or whatever they were, it's able to adjust and make do with what we're given. And we get the pat on the back that says, you guys do a great job even though you have less. And we've got to change that thinking.
Thank you for your comments. We're going to move on down the agenda.
Okay, I make a comment.
Yeah.
I completely understand what Mr. Janelli is saying, but that said, we've been in survival mode and we've had 21% back-to-back asks from the district and a $20 million surplus. That is where I believe we need to restore the confidence and trust of the community, because we have been, as I call it, in Stockholm Syndrome. Like, we're 160, I think 8 out of 169, but we had been running at 180. In other words, we had the money and we didn't know it. And so we've been in survival mode, and we're still gonna have to move accordingly because of the situation that we've gotten ourselves into based on 4 finance, directors, new programs, financial programs that weren't aligned properly. We've had a lot of reasons. COVID, there's so many different reasons. But that said, we're asking the community again to look at a 21% ask, and that is historic, that is not the norm. And so, as much as I think we all sit here and we try to figure out and forecast, again, it was made clear because of the audits and where we are today that we don't have the ability or the luxury to go back and try to predict what next year's going to look like, because we have really no idea. We're figuring it out. So with that said, I do believe that everybody needs to work together, find revenue streams. I think we've been talking about that for quite some time, all of us here. It's in front of us all tomorrow night. And, we're asking for a lot. We're basically going to continue down the same path of a shoestring budget to try to make make up that ground. And that is asking a lot. That's $20 million. That is in the city's hands. We still don't know where it is, but it did not come back to the Board of Education. So in that regard, I do agree. We need more money from the state, and we need the money that was supposed to be allocated for the Board of Education back to the board. So while we're getting 12, there's 20 there sitting somewhere, and we still don't know that. So I just want to say that, we're asking for a lot of the community. Thank you.
Standing committees, community relations,
I have no update at this time.
curriculum,
I have no update either.
finance, Mr. Janella.
We had a meeting Monday night where first I want to thank Mike and his team for the tremendous amount of work that he's been doing, cleaning up not only the information regarding the year 24, but also the financial, cleaning that issue up for the current year 25. Mike presented the statement for the period ending March. Surprisingly, the big takeaway from that, if you recall, I think there was an unencumbered balance of close to $2 million, as opposed to last month, I think that number was $9 million, and so that was a shock. Mike went on to say that there was a tremendous amount of adjustments that had to be made for charges or individuals that were charged erroneously to different, I'm going to say, grants, and should have been charged against the operating account. So it's a continued process to get these statements so they are in good order. The other thing on the agenda, we asked Mike to give us an update on the status of where he stands on the 24 work. He took the initiative to start working to clean up those balances before the actual audit engagement letter. I think At Monday night, he said there was a surplus of about $11 million, and I understand, if I'm correct, that today that number is down to $9 million, and Mike made it clear that the number is a fluid number because he continues to work on it. The other issue on the agenda that we talked about is a particular closing statement, a monthly closing statement, so that the board is aware of the different functions that are necessary and that we can hold the finance department accountable for, so that we don't have any surprises of unreconciled bank accounts going back. So where, Mike is making a tremendous amount of headway, we certainly appreciate the work done. And I think in a short time, we'll get down to ground zero, where we can start to have a tremendous amount of confidence in the numbers going forward, to enable us to then work on a truly a 3-year budget. So that's basically it.
Policy. And I can see the policy committee has been at work. We have all these action items that we want to get rid of tonight.
We sure do. We're trying to keep up that momentum, and I just want to thank Kelly for her partnership in that work. She's really she comes to every meeting prepared beyond anybody else's capacity, and I really appreciate it. Our next meeting is going to be May 12th, and as Mrs. Cooper said, there's a bunch of policies on here for second read that we hope will pass this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We just had our meeting prior to this meeting. We have 2 items that are on the agenda tonight. We have the Ellsworth Avenue school roof replacement and a new elevator addition at Haystown Avenue, which is really exciting that we've got these 2 projects going. And also want to thank Dr. Seelig for a great presentation. Gives a really great background on how facilities works in our district and the work orders, and just gave us a better understanding, so we can better kind of, when somebody comes to us and says, hey, this isn't working, we kind of know what you guys are up against. So thank you for that.
Thank all my committee chairs. And thank you for really working hard to bring this information to the board. I certainly couldn't stay the entire meeting on Monday night when we had the finance committee, and I just want to thank our finance director. He brought information to us, put it to us, so we could understand it. And when I missed out was he started moving accounts, people putting them in the right spot, account that they need to be listed under. And I saw some people saying, well, we move people, we move around, they're going to constantly move around. But I think that we as a board asked for this to be put in order, so we can at least start out and know where everything is listed. And I want to thank Mike for doing what he needed to do, and the superintendent and the lady from the city.
Oh, Joanne.
Joanne.
Yes, very helpful.
And thank you for all working together to make sure we bring that information to the board. Action item A, Juanita.
Motion that the Board of Education set for second reading and adoption policy 5114, suspension and expulsion / due process, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 25-68.
Motion made by Juanita, could I hear a second? Seconded by Lauren. Any questions? Could I hear all that's in favor? Could I hear aye?
Aye.
Mr. Janella, do policy B?
Policy D, a motion that the Board of Education is set for a second reading and adopt the policy 5125, student records confidentiality, as recommended by the policy committee, and in accordance with the 25-69 exhibit.
Motion made by Mr. Janelli, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Al. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion so carried. Kate, policy C.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 5125.11, health/medical records, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with exhibit 25-70.
Motion made by Kate, could I get a second? Seconded by Lauren, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Louisa, policy D.
Motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 5131.1, bus conduct, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 25-71.
Motion made by Louisa,
Second.
seconded by Al. Any questions? All in favor of that motion, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Lauren, policy E.
I make a motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption of policy 5131.6, alcohol use, drugs, and tobacco, including performance-enhancing substances, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 25-72.
Motion made by Lauren, could I hear a second? Seconded by Kate. Any questions? All in favor of the motion, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Teresa, policy F.
F, policy 5131.7, weapons and dangerous instruments. Motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 5131.7, weapons and dangerous instruments, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 25-73.
Motion made by Teresa, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Juanita. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Could I hear aye? Opposed? Motion so carried. Michelle, G.
Motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 5132, dressing and grooming, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 25-74.
Motion made by Michelle, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Al. Any questions concerning the policy? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. L, H.
I make a motion that pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 10-215F, as in Foxtrot, Danbury Public Schools certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempt from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by school or non-school organizations and groups in accordance with Exhibit 25-75.
Let's move on. Al made the motion. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Juanita. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Could I hear aye? Opposed? Motion so carried. Louisa? Aye.
Motion that the Danbury Public Schools will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutritional standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, The sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food and beverage sales, in accordance with 25-76.
Motion made by Louisa,
Second.
seconded by Al. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Juanita J.
Motion that the Board of Education accept the March 2025 financial report as recommended by the Finance Committee and in accordance with 25-77.
Motion made by Juanita, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Louisa. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Lauren K.
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the final plans, contract specifications, and cost estimate for the Ellsworth Avenue School roof replacement and authorize the chairperson of the Board of Education and the superintendent of schools to sign the SCG 042 form for submission to the state of Connecticut for approval in accordance with 25-78.
Motion made by Lauren, could I hear a second? Seconded by Kate. Any questions? All in favor of the motion, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Louisa L.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approve the final.
Al?
Oh, Al,
Did
you
you
said
change
Al.
your name to Louisa?
You said Al. You said Al.
I heard Al.
I heard Al Lisa.
Okay. Okay, Al. Okay. We're okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Al.
I make the motion that the Board of Education approve the final plans, contract specifications, and cost estimates for the Haystown Avenue School Elevator Addition, and authorize the chairperson of the Board of Education and the superintendent of schools to sign the SCG 042 form for submission to the state of Connecticut for approval in accordance with Exhibit 25-79.
Okay, motion made by Al. Seconded by Louisa. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Oh. Move on down the agenda. Okay. Are there any discussion or anything new board members would like to bring to the board? Kate?
I just want to apologize to Kim Thompson because I did not mention her vital role in the policy work that we're doing. So thank you, Kim, for your support.
Just that the April 26th Family University is going to be rescheduled. We believe there's a lot of just competing interests on that day, and so the normal sign-ups were down, so they'd rather maximize the time. So, yeah, this is it. So it'll be rescheduled. There was just multiple things happening in the community at the same time. The other thing is, Mike, Dr. Seelig, you just want to give us a quick 2-second update on our Teacher of the Year ceremony and process.
So everyone should have received a save the date a couple weeks ago. It is May 7th from 5:30 to 7:30. It is not at Broadview this year, it is at Danbury High School. And the reason for that is we've expanded this year's celebration to incorporate the para-educators of the year as well. So we'll have more attendees, we need a bigger stage and more seats They'll start at 5:30. There'll be a little reception in the lobby area, then we'll all go in. 6 o'clock it'll start, and the festivities will proceed from there.
Board chairperson report. I don't have anything new. I'm going to repeat about the meeting tomorrow night at City Hall, 7 o'clock. Superintendent Evaluation Committee on April 29th. And I hope everyone that has received invitations to come. If you haven't filled out your form, please take time to read the form. I don't want to be here till 9, 10 o'clock. Went over that form. Okay? And if you have any questions concerning that form or anything that you want to ask the superintendent person, you can call her up before we come to the meeting. What form is this? The 29th, Monday.
Oh, coming Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, sorry. Oh, 29th, yeah. Fill it out for you. You can, if you can, if you would like to. You don't want to get here and, kill a lot of time. Okay? And if you fill it out and you want to drop it by here, you can leave it. Okay? So.
Just a quick note on
Yes,
negotiations. Thank you to, I think we heard from everybody to volunteer in one way or another for one of the myriad slots we have for negotiating committees. And so I will work with Kara and Mrs. Cooper on making sure that we've got everybody, at least one on every non-certified contract and 2 on our teachers, which will be coming up starting in July. The other thing is I can't talk too much about it, but we did reach a tentative agreement on Monday night with the paraeducators. Thank you to Kate for your time on that. And so we are just awaiting the ratification date with them. And then I'm hopeful that I'll be able to bring to you a motion to ratify that agreement at your next meeting. And we'll be able to move forward with that big hurdle surpassed. So, but again, thank you to Kate and to the whole team. It went a little longer than we had thought, but I think we reached a good deal.
Anyone else? Michelle?
For the meeting dates, it says May 15th for the superintendent evaluation and regular board meeting. Should that be 14th? Or is it?
That was a backup date.
Right.
It's a Thursday.
Yeah, it was a backup date. That was, then we wanted to do a little sooner. We want to get to the spring, so I think
We'll clear it up here.
yeah.
We'll clear it up tomorrow. Make sure, okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
Right?
Oh.
We're not gonna be here. We're gonna be in Vermont.
You still can.
I'll be in Milwaukee.
Who wants to be in the that Karen? We'll work out something. And those that want to laugh and learn, sure. We'll figure out something somehow, okay? Okay. So just take care if you're thinking about it. If you're not, just put your name down, okay? Nothing else? I ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Al, good night, everyone.